morning.
Good morning. So we wrote our emails last week, and I got a response right away, but I haven't told the kids. I thought I'd let you tell the kids what happened.
Okay, yeah, we have a lot of an update because a lot has happened. So all of you, last time we met, you guys were all emailing Representative Santos asking her, as chair of the Education Committee, whether or not you were asking her to schedule it for a public hearing. Well, the good news is that your emails worked and she scheduled it for a public hearing, and the hearing was last week. I attended the hearing and I signed in on your behalf in support of the bill. So I think it's on your webpage if you wanted to go back and watch it. But the hearing was very similar to the hearing in the Senate. The Boys and Girls Club came and testified in support of the bill. Tacoma Public Schools testified in support of the bill, and the YMCA testified in support of the bill. So it was all very, very good. So great work on getting it heard, and it was a great public hearing. The bill is now scheduled to be voted on by the committee tomorrow. So usually they don't schedule a bill to be voted on unless they intend to pass it out of committee. That may be, there's always things that can come up that can get in the way, but it is a very good sign that the bill is scheduled to be voted on out of the committee tomorrow. The bill also has really good bipartisan support out of if you'll remember, it passed out of the Senate with only one no vote. So it's almost unanimous, and so it has Democrats and Republicans supporting it. So then when it goes over to the House, they have good bipartisan support there as well. The one thing that worries me about the bill at this point is that if you remember some of our earlier conversations, the bill costs money. So every time a bill is introduced, the state agencies do an analysis of the bill called a fiscal note. And the fiscal note explains, here's exactly how much the bill is going to cost the state in order to implement. So the fiscal note on our bill is $5 million per year. That is a lot of money. So one of the things we need to now pay attention to is not just, is the bill going through the process and meeting all the steps, is it passing out of committee and all of that, but also whether the budget is going to allocate any money to it, because otherwise, even if the bill passes, it won't matter if they don't allocate any money to it. So the budget process is started in November with the governor's proposal of what he would like to see in a budget. And the governor proposed increasing taxes by about $4 billion. And he invested the vast majority of that in education, in K through 12 education. The legislature looked at his proposal. Most of them have said, we don't like that approach. We don't want to raise that many taxes. And so they've sort of set his proposal aside, and they've been working on developing their own budget proposals. So the Senate has developed their budget proposal, and they released it yesterday. So I just wanted to go over that a little bit. The good news is that the Senate budget proposal does include funding for our bill. So that's very, very good. The Senate budget recognizes that this is an important bill and worth passing and funding. But the Senate, what they do is they make adjustments to the property tax. So right now there's different property tax rates all throughout the state. What they have suggested is changing all of the property tax rates throughout the state to $1.55 per $1,000 of property. So everyone who owns property has a certain value that's been assigned to it. So if you own a home, it's worth a certain amount of value. So for every $1,000 in property value, they want to charge $1.55. what that means is that it does increase revenue by about $1.7 billion, which is good. It's not as much money as the governor proposed, but there's some more money there, and they invest all of that money in the K through 12 education system. The challenge and what some of the Democrats are saying about the Senate proposal that they don't like about is they're saying, oh, well, wait a minute, in Seattle and in Bellevue, the property tax isn't $1.55, it's lower than that. So in some areas, there's going to be an increase in the property tax, and in other areas, there will be no change or a decrease. But all the money that's collected is going to go to the state level, and then they're going to distribute it out. So while Seattle and Bellevue might see an increase in property taxes, their local schools, so you guys are part of that, would not see an increase in funding. The money that would be generated would go to other schools in other areas that right now aren't as well funded. So generally, that's what the Senate has proposed in their budget. As I mentioned, the good news for our bill is that it includes the $5 million that supports our bill. But what do you guys think about the overall proposal that they have put together on their budget? Do you guys like this property tax adjustment, or do you have questions about it? Yes.
I think I like tax idea, but I think it might be a bit too much. Because if we increased it by that much, it could cause some people to be not very happy, and some people already moved from places to here because there aren't much tax. So if we're increasing the tax by a lot, maybe it might cause people to move more.
Okay. Are there other thoughts?
Also, I think especially for people in Bellevue, because the Bellevue houses are really, really expensive. It's just gonna be like a lot of people are gonna be like looking for jobs and quitting their jobs because they don't get enough money and like. So, it's just gonna be really like everyone's gonna be worrying a lot because like Bellevue houses are really expensive already. So.
What if they buy a house in
Hey, sorry. I was struggling with my earpiece a little piece. So you're a little bit, but your comment was about how Bellevue houses are what now?
No, Bellevue houses are already really expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, people might be really worrying if the rates going up.
Okay. Okay.
But
Are there other thoughts in the blue jacket?
we need to put more money into funding education because we have one of the worst educations in the country, I think, like public education.
Do we need to put more money into education? Is that what you said?
Move up. When you talk, you should move up to the green stool. Matthew, you want to move up to the green stool?
I thought Washington that funding that educates Washington's education isn't really that good. I heard that was like 44th in the nation, but like Bellevue is like best in the nation, I think.
So Bellevue has good schools and the rest of the state does not. Is that right?
Pretty much like if you think about it, I think it's like 44th in the nation for Washington education. So,
Do you think that, so the proposal is that they would increase the property taxes in Bellevue and Seattle, and they would use that money to fund other schools, not the Bellevue schools, and you're saying that's a good thing? Yeah?
but they need to keep funding Bellevue schools.
Okay.
But we need to fund more to the schools outside of the Seattle area.
Okay.
Is this bill only passed in the state of Washington or is it the whole country?
This bill would just be the state of Washington.
Thank you.
Are there other questions about the budget proposal?
What about the other boys and girls clubs in the nation? Like, don't they also need help too?
I didn't hear you, sorry. Can you say it again?
Mike's right there. Oh, what about the other boys and girls club in Washington State? Don't they also need help?
What are the other,
Boys and girls club.
what are the other boys and girls clubs in Washington State?
Yeah.
I think there are boys and girls clubs all throughout the state, and the way the bill is drafted is that there would be 50 different awards given to either the boys and girls clubs or other similar organizations to provide the after school or summer programs.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? Okay. So we've seen the Senate proposal. We're expecting the House to release their budget proposal early next week. And we're expecting them to take a little bit different approach to the tax system. We don't expect them to do the same thing with the property tax, but they'll probably propose some other type of tax format in order to increase funding for education. I don't know whether or not they're going to include funding for our bill as part of their proposal. We're going to have to wait and see whether they do that. But it's a good sign if the committee passes the bill that they will include it.
Brianna,
Uh-huh.
if the property tax covers the education, funding education, does that mean that the levy swap would be off the table?
So what I described was a levy swap where they make a uniform rate of $1.55. For some areas, that's going to be an increase in property tax, and some it's going to be a decrease. And so what was being imposed locally would be instead being imposed by the state at a uniform level.
So when Bellevue votes a levy saying, yes, we're going to support schools, is that the same thing as the tax property?
So the Bellevue could still vote to approve levies, but the levies that they would be voting on would need to be for extracurricular, not to fund basic education, would need to be for add-ons.
Because I know we did have some discussion that it wouldn't be fair if I'm paying my taxes to approve a levy for education and then it goes to another school in Eastern Washington when I was voting it in so that it would be for our local schools.
So what the Senate has proposed is a statewide imposed $1.55 levy. So it wouldn't be locally imposed. You wouldn't vote on it locally. It would be imposed by the state. And then if you as a local community wanted to increase funding above and beyond basic education to provide more extracurricular activities or after school programs or sporting or new facilities, then you could approve a levy in addition to that $1.55 levy in order to fund those additional items.
All right. Any other questions, kids?
So we're more than halfway through the regular legislative process, and we're starting to see budgets be released by the House and the Senate. They are saying that they may go long. They might keep meeting after April and into May and June because they really are in a disagreement on how to best change the tax system to fund education. So we'll see what the House proposal looks like, but there may be this may take a long time before we know whether or not our bill has been funded. But the good news is that it's advancing through the process. The committee will hopefully vote on it tomorrow, and then it will go to the House Rules Committee. Once it's in the House Rules Committee, we'll need to get it pulled out of that committee and onto the floor where the entire House will debate it and vote on it.
Does everybody still have their little Mario?
We're voted on House floor, right?
Yeah, if you could follow the process through your little handout.
You just watching yours.
So we're almost to the end of the process. I've been working with the Civics Club for your school. The bill they've selected every year has never made it this far. So this is very exciting for you guys.
Mm-hmm. So true.
If the governor vetoes it, then does it just start the whole process again?
If the governor vetoes it, it's like the bill never passed and they would have to start back at square one next year.
But that's the closest we
Yeah, it is.
Maybe the governor.
This paper says it first goes to a hearing in the House committee, and then after everything in House, it goes to the Senate. But did we start in the Senate first and then go to the House?
That's right, because this is a Senate bill. It started in the Senate and now it's going to the House. Now, if the House makes any changes to it, it's going to have to go back to the Senate and they're going to have to say, yes, we agree with those changes. But so far, the House hasn't made any changes or any amendments to the bill. They've liked it the way it came out of the Senate. Now, if they are going to make any amendments, they'll do it tomorrow when they vote on the bill.
Wait, if the governor vetoes it, can't people just vote back on it to overpower the governor?
So your question is, if the governor vetoes it, can the people vote it back in?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the only way that that could happen is you can do what's called a citizens initiative. So you would have to take the bill around and get thousands of signatures, and then it would be on your ballot, on the ballot in November to be voted on. And that would be a lot of work.
Okay.
Do you think the governor will veto it?
I don't think the governor will veto it. I think if it continues to pass and it passes out of the Senate with the same bipartisan support that it passed out of this Senate with, then it will. Then the governor will likely sign it into law.
And also, the governor signs it into a law. Like what will happen? Like, what changes will happen?
What changes will happen? Well, if there's no funding appropriated, nothing will happen. If the funding is appropriated, then a department in the state called the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction will begin administering grant programs. So they'll have an application, and the different Boys and Girls Clubs and other organizations interested in doing the program will apply for the money to do the program. So they'll have to submit an application. The Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction will review that application, and then they'll award the grant to the best applicants. And then they're supposed to provide a report at the end after they have issued all the grants on whether or not the after-school programs or the summer programs were successful at doing what their goal was.
If the governor were to sign it in like 3 weeks, then when would the law start? When would the law be enforced?
didn't quite hear your question, but I think if the answer might be that so the bill has to pass the House first, and then the governor would sign it. And it's usually, I think, 90 days after the bill has been signed that it becomes effective.
Okay.
Do you guys have any other questions? Okay, well, I think that's generally the update. The next time that I'll talk to you, hopefully our bill will have passed out of committee, maybe even passed out of the House, and we will see the House budget. So we'll know whether or not it will have funding included in the House budget proposal.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Oh, now I have two fourth graders, Isaac and Maya's not here today, but we're gonna be in Olympia on the 31st of this month. So if you get a chance, are you gonna be down there on the 31st?
I will be. I'll have to look at my calendar and see what meetings I have, but I could probably see you guys.
Yeah, we'll go in that. I was going to email Senator, our Lieutenant Governor Cyrus Habib, because he usually comes and talks to us, as he was a student at Somerset as well.
He was?
Yeah,
He was?
Yeah.
he was.
Oh.
Yeah, so maybe during that time when we all gathered in that big reception room.
Yeah. Okay, well, you'll just have to let me know what time you're going to be there, and then I will try and meet up and see you guys.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
8:40.
He's almost